a calling. If you're hearing this, it's because you're meant to. Sometimes, God speaks in whispers, not through burning bushes or loud signs, but through small moments that stop us in our tracks. A video. A sentence. A feeling you can't explain. This is one of those moments. You see, divine timing isn't always obvious. It doesn't show up with flashing lights or perfect clarity. It sneaks into the ordinary, into 2 a.m. thoughts, into long drives home, into videos like this one. And right now, God is reminding you. You're not forgotten. You're being led. Maybe you've been praying for a sign. Or maybe your soul just needed to hear something real, something bigger than the noise of everyday life. Well, this is it. You're not here by accident. You're here because there's a greater plan unfolding, and it has your name written all over it. But maybe you've been waiting. Not just for this message, but for something more. A breakthrough. A change. A door to open. And instead, all you've heard is silence. You've prayed. You've cried in the middle of the night when no one was around. You've whispered to the ceiling, hoping God was still listening. And all you got back was stillness. But what if I told you that the silence of God is not his absence, but his strategy? See, in American life, we're taught that silence is awkward. That if someone's not answering, it means they've moved on. That waiting is wasting. But that's not how heaven works. God isn't ignoring you. He's developing you. He's protecting the timing, the alignment, the sequence of everything that must fall into place for your purpose to fully bloom. Because here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. Sometimes, God doesn't answer, because he's building the answer behind the scenes. And he knows that if he gave it to you too early, you might not be ready. You might sabotage the very thing you've been praying for. You might confuse a blessing with a burden. So he stays silent, not to punish you, but to prepare you. In the silence, he sharpens your discernment. He grows your patience. He teaches you to walk by faith, not by applause, not by affirmation, not by signs, but by trust. And if you're sitting in that space right now, the quiet space, the lonely space, the God, are you even there, space? Let me speak directly to your soul. You are not invisible. You are in process. Think about a seed underground. No one sees it. No one claps for it. No one celebrates its progress. But it's growing. Quietly. Silently. Purposefully. Until one day, it breaks the surface, and what seemed forgotten is now flourishing. That's you. You're the seed in the soil. And silence is just the sound of heaven at work. So don't mistake delay for denial. Don't confuse the quiet with rejection. God's silence is sacred. It means he's near. It means he's crafting something so detailed, so intentional, that it takes time. Real love, real purpose, real miracles. They aren't microwaved. They're slow-cooked by the hands of a God who cares more about your future than your comfort. And right now, he's asking you to trust. To wait without bitterness. To believe even when the evidence is missing. To keep showing up, even in the silence. Because when the silence breaks, and it will, you'll realize that God wasn't preparing the blessing for you. He was preparing you for the blessing. And when that silence breaks, you might still be holding the pain. The memory of what you lost. The regret of what slipped through your fingers. The weight of what could have been, if life had gone just a little differently. Because here's the truth we all carry, but few ever say. Sometimes, the hardest part isn't the waiting, it's what you had to let go of along the way. The job you thought was your future. The relationship that felt like forever. The dream you built your identity around. The person you used to be, before life hit hard. And you've been measuring yourself by those losses, haven't you? Telling yourself that if you had done more, or been more, or seen it coming, maybe you'd still have it. That maybe, your value left when that chapter closed. But hear this. What you lost is not who you are. And what you left behind doesn't limit what's still ahead. God is not defining your story by the things that didn't work out. He's defining it by what He's still going to do through you. Because what's coming carries more weight than what you've lost. You see, in American culture, we talk a lot about success, the rise, the grind, the comeback story. But no one talks enough about the in-between. The space where you're no longer who you were, and not yet who you're becoming. But God does His deepest work in that space. When you're raw. When you've been stripped of what you thought made you whole. When you've got nothing left but surrender. That's where He reminds you. Your worth was never in the title. Never in the relationship. Never in the applause. It was in the breath He placed in your lungs. In the calling He etched into your soul before you ever took your first step. You're not starting from zero. You're starting from experience. From wisdom you couldn't have learned in a comfort zone. From strength that only came because you didn't quit, even when quitting would have been easier. You see, the enemy wants you to believe that your story peaked back there. That your best days are tied to something you lost. But God says no. Your best days are ahead. And your comeback won't be a return to who you were. It will be a revelation of who you were always meant to become. So lift your head. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're still here. Still breathing. Still chosen. Still carrying purpose in your bones that no loss, no mistake, and no storm can erase. There's a shift coming, not because life gets easier, but because your vision gets clearer. You'll start to see that the valley shaped you more than the mountaintop ever could. That what broke you also built you. That what you thought was the end, was just the beginning of something God-sized. So stop mourning what left. Start preparing for what's about to arrive. Because your story didn't end in the loss. It just got interesting. And now you're walking. Maybe not fast. Maybe not fearlessly. But you're moving forward. And even if no one else sees it, He does. Every step. Every fight to get out of bed. Every moment you choose hope over despair, even when your hands are shaking. God sees it all. Because while others only see your surface, God sees your preparation. You've been feeling forgotten, haven't you? Watching others succeed. Watching doors open for them while yours stay closed. Feeling like maybe God passed you by. But let me tell you a truth that echoes beyond time. God never forgets who He prepares. You haven't been overlooked. You've been refined. While the world runs ahead chasing everything shiny and instant, God has been working in you, slowly, deeply, thoroughly. You don't build skyscrapers overnight. You lay foundations. And sometimes the deeper the foundation, the longer the digging takes. That's what this season has been. Digging. Strengthening. Anchoring. Not punishment. Not delay. But divine architecture. You are not behind. You're being built differently, and deliberately. And let's be honest, it's hard. It's hard to trust the process when all you see is dirt. When the prayers haven't turned into answers. When faith feels like talking to a closed door. But God isn't finished. And He's not just preparing the blessing. He's preparing you to be the kind of person who can carry it. Because what He's planned for you, it's not ordinary. It's not lightweight. It's not temporary. It's legacy. It's generational. It's something that can't be built on shallow ground. And so, He's been stretching you. Letting certain things fall away. Allowing seasons of quiet, seasons of pruning, seasons of breaking. Not to harm you, but to hollow out the space in you where greatness will live. You are not in the dark because you're forgotten. You're in the dark because seeds don't grow in the spotlight. They grow underground. In the unseen. In the lonely. In the quiet spaces where only God is watching. So don't envy someone else's harvest if you don't know how deep they had to be buried. And don't doubt your own future just because it hasn't bloomed yet. You are not behind. You are becoming. And when it's time, when God knows you're ready, nothing will be able to stop the doors that open. Not people. Not timing. Not even your own fears. What's for you has already been written, and He's been preparing the stage while you've been backstage, learning the lines, building the strength, finding your voice. When it's time, you'll step into it and realize. Every no, every closed door, every moment of silence, was part of the yes that matters most. So stay faithful in the quiet. Keep walking in the shadows. Because you're not being ignored. You're being trusted with the slow work of something eternal. You've come a long way. Further than most people realize. Further than even you give yourself credit for. Because no one else saw the nights you didn't sleep. No one else heard the quiet sobs behind closed doors. No one else felt the weight you carried with a smile just to survive the day. But God saw it. He collected every tear. Not one was wasted. Not one went unnoticed. Not one drop of pain left His hands empty. Because with God, pain is never pointless. You might still be carrying it, the ache of things that broke. The sting of things that never happened. The quiet ache of prayers that feel unanswered. But what if I told you that the very thing trying to break you is what God is turning into the loudest part of your testimony? What if the parts of your life you've tried to hide, the mistakes, the detours, the failures, are the very places where God plans to show His glory? See, in this country, in American culture, we've been told to bury pain. To hustle through it. To cover it with filters and grind culture and "I'm fine" smiles. But God doesn't ask for your perfection. He asks for your surrender. And sometimes, surrender means saying, God, this hurts, but I trust you anyway. And when you do that, when you bring Him the shattered pieces, He doesn't just fix them. He rebuilds you into something stronger. Because your pain has a purpose. Not just for you, but for someone else who hasn't made it through yet. There's someone out there, right now, praying for hope. And one day, your story, your survival, will be the proof that healing is possible. What you've walked through will be the bridge for someone else's breakthrough. That's the power of a life surrendered to God. Nothing is wasted. The addiction, redeemed. The loss, rewritten. The heartbreak, transformed. The depression, the anxiety, the emptiness, turned into light, compassion, clarity. And when people look at you, they won't just see someone who survived. They'll see someone who was reborn. Because that's what God does. He turns ashes into beauty. Scars into stories. Wounds into wisdom. So don't hide the pain. Don't rush past it. Don't pretend it didn't matter. Because that pain you're carrying, it's the evidence that you're still alive. It's the seed of something sacred. It's the soil where miracles are made. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, you're going to look back on all of this and realize that pain became my platform. That breaking became my becoming. That season became the reason someone else chose to stay alive. So don't curse your process. Don't silence your testimony. Because what tried to bury you didn't know. You were a seed. And your roots run deep. And maybe now, you're beginning to feel it. That shift. That pull inside your chest. That quiet knowing. You were never meant to stay small. Because deep down, something in you always knew. You were called to more. Not more stuff. Not more applause. Not more popularity. But more impact. And even if the world hasn't seen it yet, God did. He placed something eternal inside you. A calling. A voice. A light that refuses to go out, even in the darkest night. And that calling doesn't depend on who believes in you. It doesn't need a title. It doesn't wait for approval. It doesn't need you to be perfect. It just needs you to be willing. Willing to keep showing up. Willing to trust when it makes no sense. Willing to carry something holy in a world that doesn't always recognize sacred things. You see, too often we wait for permission. For validation, for someone to say, yes, you're enough. But what if I told you? You've always been enough. Not because people said so. Not because you earned it. But because the God who formed you already called you chosen before you ever took your first breath. And when he says yes, no human no. No closed door. No rejection. Can undo it. You weren't called to fit in. You were called to stand out. To live in a way that makes people wonder, what is it about them? You were called to carry peace into chaos. To walk with hope when others have given up. To believe in light even when surrounded by shadows. And no, it won't always make sense. There will be people who misunderstand you. Friends who fall away. Seasons where the silence gets loud again, and the doubt creeps back in. But listen closely. Your calling doesn't get smaller just because they can't see it. Their rejection is not your direction. Their doubt is not your identity. You were set apart for something bigger than opinions. Something eternal. Something that will outlast trends, timelines, and expectations. Because God doesn't place calling on your life and walk away. He walks with you through every step of it. He equips what he calls. He sustains what he starts. And he's not finished with you yet. So let the others chase what fades. You chase what lasts. Chase obedience over recognition. Chase truth over applause. Chase God's approval over the crowd's attention. Because when you walk in what God has placed inside you, doors open that no one can shut. Opportunities find you in hidden places. And your life becomes more than just existence. It becomes evidence. Evidence that purpose beats popularity. That calling outlives clout. That obedience, even in obscurity, echoes in eternity. So stop waiting for everyone else to get it. You don't need permission to be who God called you to be. You already have his yes. Now go live like it. And as you begin walking in that calling, something sacred begins to happen. You start to see it. Not with your eyes, but with your spirit. The little things. The ones you used to overlook. They begin to glow with purpose. That stranger who smiled at you in line. That song that played at just the right moment. That parking spot when you needed it. That quiet sense of keep going when no one else was cheering you on. You realize now. God has been in the details all along. Because we think miracles only look like fire from heaven. But sometimes they look like a breath of peace in the middle of a panic attack. Sometimes they sound like your child laughing when your heart is heavy. Sometimes they show up in traffic, in coffee, in late-night texts, in unexpected hugs. See, in a world obsessed with the big and flashy, God loves to show up in the quiet and ordinary. Because that's where our hearts are softest. That's where trust is born. And that's how he teaches us this simple, life-altering truth. You don't need a mountaintop to know he's near. He's in the morning light that touches your kitchen window. He's in the song that finds you when you didn't know what to pray. He's in the laughter between friends. He's in the stillness after the storm. He's in the everyday. Because he's the God of always. And maybe that's what you're learning now. That you don't have to chase moments to find meaning. You carry it with you. Purpose isn't waiting in the next big thing. It's right here. Right now. In how you show up. In how you love. In how you forgive. In how you listen when someone needs to be heard. And that's the beauty of the life God is building in you. It's not loud, but it's lasting. It's not dramatic, but it's divine. It's not always visible, but it's eternally valuable. You don't need a platform to matter. You don't need a title to make a difference. You don't need perfect conditions to be used by God. You just need to be available. So breathe. Slow down. Look around. God is not just in your future breakthrough. He's here, right now, in your present breath. And the more you pay attention, the more you'll see Him moving. In ways you never expected. In moments you thought didn't matter. In days that used to feel too small to be sacred. Because with Him, nothing is small. That smile you gave the cashier. It planted peace. That text you sent to check in. It pulled someone back from the edge. That prayer you whispered in traffic. It moved heaven on someone's behalf. So don't underestimate the divine weight of your daily life. Miracles aren't always loud. Sometimes, they look like faithfulness in the unnoticed. Like kindness that costs you nothing but means everything. Like choosing joy when it would be easier to numb out. Like trusting God on an ordinary Tuesday. Because one day, you'll look back. And you'll realize the most extraordinary parts of your story were the ones you almost missed. Because they wore the disguise of normal. And now, standing here at the edge of everything you've been through. And everything that still waits for you. There's one final truth you must hold close. Your journey is not just about where you end up. It's about who you become along the way. Because life, this life, is a sacred unfolding. A masterpiece painted not in moments of ease, but in the brushstrokes of resilience, faith, and love. The scars you carry are not marks of defeat. They are badges of honor. Proof that you faced the storm and chose to keep moving. And through every hardship, every tear, every quiet prayer whispered in the dark, God was shaping you. Not into someone perfect, but into someone real. Someone humble. Someone courageous. Someone who knows that strength is not in never falling, but in rising each time you do. You've learned that hope is not just a feeling. It's a choice. A daily decision to believe in the unseen. To trust in a future written by hands stronger than yours. And in this culture that prizes instant success, that glorifies the quick win, you've discovered something rare. The power of patience. Patience with yourself. Patience with the process. Patience with the timing that only God controls. Because what God is doing in your life, it's not just about you. It's about the generations that come after you. The people who will stand on the foundation you are building. The lives that will be touched because you chose to keep going when it would have been easier to stop. You are part of a greater story. One that spans beyond your sight, beyond your understanding. Woven with threads of grace, redemption, and divine purpose. So when the doubts creep in again, when the nights feel too long, when the world feels heavy and you're tempted to give up, remember this. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are deeply loved. And you are absolutely capable of everything God has called you to be. The future may still hold uncertainty. But your faith will light the way. Your story will inspire others to find their own. And your life will be a testament to the truth that no matter what happens, God's plan is greater than your pain. Your purpose is bigger than your past. And your best days are still ahead. So take a deep breath. Lift your eyes to the horizon. And step forward, with courage, with grace, with unshakable hope. Because this is your moment. Your story. Your miracle in motion. And it's only just beginning.